So we're going to get into working with Illustrator now, and this is the program that you're going to be doing your second project in, your flyer and poster. And Illustrator, again, is a vector artwork program where Photoshop is rasterized artwork. So Photoshop is pixel-based, Illustrator is vector-based, and remember that vector is referring to those anchor points that are based on their location and their communication with one another. And that's why when we zoom in on Illustrator, we don't get that pixelization that we get with Photoshop. Illustrator is a line art program. So what I'm looking at here, this is just the artboards that we set up in our last tutorial. And this would be the front of your flyer, the back of your flyer, and your references page. And these are just some elements I brought in that we may or may not work with. But you do have a clipping path tutorial that will be posted today, and that's going to help you with this project. Okay, so this is an example of a clipping path, and that'll make sense when you watch that other tutorial. So the first thing you want to do before you start working with Illustrator is make sure that it's set up correctly. And there's only a few things you need to check. On your Illustrator, especially as a new user, you should be working with Essentials Classic. So up in the upper right here, if you see your workspace, yours may say Essentials, depends on what it defaults to as a new app. But working with Essentials Classic I find is the best one as new users. And I still use Essentials Classic, just like we spoke about with InDesign. I still use it because I just find it's the most user-friendly. I like where it places things, and it's what I'm used to. As you work with this more and more, you may find that you like a different layout, or you can create your own and so on. So making sure you're on Essentials Classic, that will make sure that you're seeing things for the most part the way I am. And going to the Illustrator menu and to Preferences, and then going to General. So Illustrator menu, Preferences, General. And you're going to make sure that you have, you might want to just look and see what I have selected. Now this is what I prefer in the way that I work with Illustrator, but mainly I want to make sure that you have scale corners and scale strokes and effects selected. So what that'll make sure is that if you've applied a stroke and outline to an object and then you scale it up or down, the stroke will adapt proportionately to whatever the size of the object is becoming. And same with the effects that you apply to it. If you don't have scale and effects selected, it won't take long before you start seeing things that look funny or something looks wrong just because you made something small and whatever stroke or effect is applied to it doesn't adapt with it. So that's an important one, scale, strokes, and effects. And again, if you want to just make everything the same that I have it, that may be helpful too. It just depends, again, on how you like to work. So as you get to know Illustrator more and more, you may find that you want to turn some things on and off. But these are pretty much the basics, and I've worked with these for as long as I've been working with Illustrator. And then the other thing we want to do is go to Units and just make sure that you're working in General in inches, and then stroke will be points and your type will be points. So that's just a basic setup that you want to make sure you do for your preferences. And then also making sure you have the rulers on. My rulers are on here. If I do Command R, they'll go off. Command R, they'll go on. Okay, so Essentials Classic, setting the preferences, getting your rulers showing, and then you're set up to actually safely work with Illustrator.